I've always wanted to do an Earthrise in Afghanistan. You know, I've been with Earthrise since episode 1, season 1, and we've covered some really good ground, but I felt like certain countries had really been missed, and Afghanistan was one of those for me. So I contacted a friend of mine who had been making films in Afghanistan for the past 10 years and just said, what's the story, you know, what's the environmental story? And it didn't take much digging after that. The story of Band-e Amir National Park and its female rangers really presented itself to us. There was no way we couldn't do it. Spent 5 days on the ground filming, up at 4:30 every morning, very long days filming, not because we're overly keen or hardworking, but because there was so much to film, so much landscape, so much beauty, and most importantly, so many amazing people in that park. By far what struck me the most making this film was how incredibly beautiful Band-e Amir National Park is. I've traveled a great deal and seen some amazing scenery, but Band-e Amir is honestly one of the most beautiful, untouched landscapes I've ever seen. It has been a national park since 2009, and they've employed local male rangers since then. But they noticed in the throngs of tourists that were coming every spring and summer, many of them Afghan, there was many children and women coming. They didn't feel it was appropriate for the male rangers to be managing women and children in the park, and there were many women and children visiting. So they hired the female rangers. It came out of a need. We can't approach them, but women can. All the rangers from Band-e Amir National Park are from the local community. There are 14 villages living in the park. The female rangers are all former housewives. This is actually their first job. One of the rangers, Cobra, she just knew so much about the plants, about the landscape, and she had learned this from her parents. She knew the medicinal properties of all the different plants, and it had been passed down in her family through the generations. My most significant moment making this film was spending the morning with one of our female rangers. Her name is Nakhbat, and she had been up since 5 a.m. She had milked the goat, prepared breakfast for 18 people, which for many people, that's the end of the day. That's a long day. But I was there in the room with her when she was putting on her ranger uniform and getting ready for work. And she was sort of looking at herself in the mirror and checking herself out in her uniform. And I asked her, how do you feel when you see yourself in the mirror? And she said, I feel great. I feel really good. And I could see the pride in her eyes. I certainly went out there with these preconceived notions about Afghanistan. Everything I had read about or heard was that there was a real gender divide and that women really didn't do things like become female rangers, have jobs, make big decisions when it comes to their community. And all those notions were completely broken for me. My hope after making this film really is for as many people as possible to know about Band-e Amir National Park, especially if you're into nature and trekking and the great outdoors. This is one of the most beautiful places on our planet that more people need to know about and visit and get to admire. It's a real refuge for the people of Afghanistan, who we have to realize have been, you know, surviving years of war and conflict and insecurity. You know, there hasn't been peace in that country for so many years. So when I would see the visitors arrive, it was a chance for them to just relax, to breathe, to celebrate life with their family, things that we take for granted. There's just so many stories to tell. But really, what stood out for me in the editing process is the story of the people and the characters. They really have been driving this film. I just want to make sure that I tell their story and allow them to have a platform to share what it's like for them, to be part of that, to come from that part of the world, what they want the world to know. This is not just about conservation and wildlife, which is very important. This is changing people's attitudes towards women and working and taking part in protecting natural resources.